It's a busy night at a high-end restaurant, and the staff is bustling to serve their wealthy clientele. Among them walks a man, calm but confident, dressed in modest attire. He's met with raised eyebrows and dismissive glances from the waitstaff, who seem to judge him solely by the color of his skin. Ignoring his polite requests, they seat him at the worst table, brush off his concerns, and treat him like he doesn't belong. What they don't know is this man isn't just any guest. He's the mayor, here undercover to observe how they treat their patrons. And his decision could determine whether their liquor license is renewed. The night unfolds with tension, bias, and a test of character that will leave the staff stunned when the truth comes out. Will they realize their mistake too late? Stay tuned to see how this eye-opening story ends. The mayor had heard whispers about this restaurant before, rumors of unkind service and unfair treatment towards certain guests. Tonight, he decided to see for himself if those stories held any truth. As he sat at the poorly lit table near the kitchen doors, he couldn't help but notice how differently the other diners were treated. Servers were attentive, their smiles wide, and their tone warm. Meanwhile, he was barely acknowledged, and when they did speak to him, it was with impatience or a forced politeness that felt empty. The tension grew when he tried to order. The server rolled her eyes at his questions about the menu and offered no suggestions, treating his inquiries like an inconvenience. Other staff whispered and exchanged glances, clearly judging him. The mayor remained calm, observing quietly. What they didn't realize was that every action they took was being carefully noted, and soon the truth would come to light. As the evening wore on, the mayor watched how the restaurant staff interacted with other guests. A group of well-dressed patrons at a nearby table was greeted with warmth and small talk, their every request met with enthusiasm. Meanwhile, his water glass sat empty, ignored for over 20 minutes. When he politely waved down a server to ask for a refill, she barely glanced at him before muttering, "I'll get to it," and walking away. In the kitchen, staff whispered about the odd man seated in the corner. Some assumed he couldn't afford to be there. Others joked about his choice of clothes. None of them suspected his true identity. The manager, hearing the gossip, gave the mayor a cursory glance, but made no effort to intervene. What none of them realized was that their behavior was not just being observed, it was being judged, and their future might depend on it. The mayor decided to test the staff further, politely asking to speak with the manager about his concerns. The server sighed loudly, clearly annoyed, and disappeared without a word. When the manager finally arrived, his demeanor was no better. He barely looked at the mayor, his arms crossed, and dismissed the complaints with an insincere smile. "We're very busy tonight, sir. If there's nothing else, I'll leave you to enjoy your meal," he said before walking off without waiting for a reply. The tension in the room was palpable. A few guests nearby had noticed the interaction and exchanged uneasy glances, but no one spoke up. Meanwhile, the staff carried on as if nothing was wrong, laughing and chatting amongst themselves while continuing to neglect the mayor's table. But then the moment of reckoning began to take shape. The mayor glanced at his watch, knowing that soon the truth about his identity would shift the entire mood of the room. The staff's actions tonight would not just affect their reputation, it could cost them everything. Just as the mayor prepared to make his move, an unexpected commotion caught his attention. A young couple entered the restaurant, clearly excited to celebrate a special occasion. They were also black, and immediately, the mayor noticed how the staff's attitude shifted. The hostess hesitated before seating them, scanning the dining room as if unsure where to place them. Eventually, they were led to a table near his, in the same poorly lit corner by the kitchen doors. The couple exchanged uneasy glances but remained polite, clearly trying to enjoy their evening. The mayor watched as the same patterns repeated: the dismissive tone, slow service, and lack of attention. The staff's treatment of this couple mirrored his own experience, only now it felt even more blatant. His frustration grew, but he kept his composure. What the staff didn't realize was that their actions were no longer just being witnessed. They were painting an even bigger picture, one that couldn't be ignored. The stakes were higher now, and the mayor's decision wouldn't just impact the restaurant's future. It would expose a larger issue they couldn't afford to hide. As the evening wound down, the manager made his usual rounds, stopping by tables of the more affluent-looking guests to ensure they were satisfied. When he reached the young couple's table, his smile faded, and he barely offered more than a curt, "Everything okay?" Before moving on, the mayor decided it was time to act. He quietly stood and walked to the center of the dining room, where the staff and other diners could see him clearly. "I'd like to say a few words," he began, his voice calm but commanding. The room fell silent, the staff looking puzzled. "I've been observing how your team treats guests tonight, and I think you should know I'm the mayor of this city. I'm also here to finalize my decision on whether your establishment's liquor license will be renewed." Gasps filled the room, and the staff froze, their faces pale. The manager's bravado crumbled instantly. "Mr. Mayor, I had no idea," he stammered. The mayor held up a hand, silencing him. "That's exactly the problem. You didn't care to know. Tonight, I witnessed blatant discrimination, not just toward me, but toward others as well. This isn't just about your license. It's about the culture you've created here." The tension was thick, and just as it seemed the mayor would leave it at that, he turned to the young couple and gestured for them to join him. "And to ensure this lesson isn't forgotten, I'll personally oversee the training programs for every staff member here. Change starts now." The room remained silent as the mayor walked out, leaving the staff to grapple with the reality they had brought upon themselves. In the days that followed, news of the mayor's visit spread quickly. The restaurant became the center of a local controversy, with many calling out the unfair treatment the mayor and others had endured. Facing public backlash, the owner stepped in, issuing an apology and announcing immediate changes. Staff members were required to undergo sensitivity training, and the manager was replaced. The mayor kept his word, overseeing the restaurant's progress to ensure accountability. The young couple who had been mistreated received a personal invitation to dine again, this time as honored guests. Slowly, the restaurant began to rebuild its reputation, learning the hard way that true hospitality is about treating every guest with respect, no matter who they are. For the mayor, it was never about punishment. It was about creating change. His actions served as a reminder that respect and kindness aren't just policies. They're the foundation of any community.